Hello and welcome to episode 138 of Glitch Report. My name is GnittWitt. Thank you so much for joining me today on the show. We got a Nintendo-filled show for you today. We're going to talk all things Nintendo Switch 2. We're also going to talk the Nintendo Direct that they had earlier on. And by earlier on, I mean earlier this week as part of their late March Direct. But thank you for joining me on the show today. We got a great show for you. You can find everything that I do over at my Linktree, linktree.com/GnittWitt. That'll take you to YouTube. That'll take you to Threads, TikTok. I'll take you to Instagram, all the places you need to go, all the things you need to see. Thank you for joining me today. It is a jam-packed episode. They've been jam-packed episodes for a while, but they are continuing to be jam-packed episodes. There's also all the crazy Ubisoft news. Like, Ubisoft has changed so much since last week's episode. We're going to talk Ubisoft as well. I also played a little bit of Atomfall, just enough to form a pretty passionate opinion about Atomfall. So we'll talk Atomfall as well on the show. But man, oh man, this morning, that is Wednesday morning at 6 a.m., Nintendo properly showed off the Nintendo Switch 2 in the form of a 1-hour video, not a live stream or anything like that, but a video, a pre-recorded video showing off more of the console, showing off some games, showing which partners they had for like third parties. So like, oh, is Ubisoft putting out a game? Is EA putting out a game? Square Enix, like that. They showed off more hardware. They showed off system features. They showed a little bit of everything, but they did not show everything. A lot of the things that they were talking about was like, oh, stay tuned for more. But we got a release date. We also now have confirmed pricing for the Nintendo Switch 2. I'm going to pull up that as well while we get this podcast going. But it is real. It is a thing, and we have a lot to cover. So what we're going to do is we're going to first cover everything that was announced and shown at the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. There were games, but there are more games that are part of the Nintendo Switch March Direct. So we'll cover that and all that stuff. But first and foremost, you might be wondering, when is the Switch 2 coming out, and how much is it going to cost? That's the big question, and that was answered as part of the video today. The Nintendo Switch 2 will be officially released on June 5th of this year. It is going to cost $450 US. However, if you would like to get a Nintendo Switch 2 bundled with Mario Kart World, a digital version of Mario Kart World, you can get that. That is going to cost you about $500 US. Now, you might be wondering, GnittWitt, aren't you Canadian? How much does that translate to in Canadian dollars? And unfortunately, it does not translate well into Canadian dollars. The base version of a Nintendo Switch 2 in Canada, $450 US, equates to about 644 Canadian dollars right now. And if you were to take that and say, well, what if you got the Mario Kart bundle? You are looking at about 714 Canadian dollars. So basically we're looking at something that is pretty close to PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X pricing for this console, which is, we'll maybe talk more about that later, but for now, you're looking at $449 US for the base version, and if you want Mario Kart bundled with it, it is going to be $499. Pre-orders are happening. Pre-orders are going to be happening very, very soon. They're going to be taking place in North America April 9th. That is very soon. If you wish to purchase from My Nintendo Store, you can register your interest for either Nintendo Switch 2 or the bundle. If selected, those who register will be sent an invite to their Nintendo account email when it is time to purchase. Invitations will be going out May 8th and will be prioritized on a first-come, first-served basis to registrants who have purchased a Nintendo Switch Online membership. So here's the thing. I don't know if this is going to extend to both America and Canada and other parts of North America, but the Nintendo account has been tracking details surround you, and they're going to use the Nintendo Switch account or your Nintendo account to kind of determine if you are for real and how all of this is going to go if you are a legit owner and user of Nintendo products. So what you're going to see here is I got it loaded up on my screen if you're watching the video version. Invitations are going to go out for those pre-orders May 8th. You can register as well. First come, first serve basis, like I said. But it's also based on if you have purchased a Nintendo Switch Online membership with a minimum of 12 months of paid membership and a minimum of 50 total gameplay hours as of April 2nd, 2025. The idea being they're trying to avoid scalpers, so they've come up with their own system that you can use to pre-order the console, and that means having a Nintendo Switch Online membership and having spent some time actually playing it. Though if you were to go through, say, Best Buy or Amazon or Walmart or wherever you go to get your stuff, you will obviously go through their system for pre-order if that is your thing. So we got the date, June 5th. We got pre-order starting April 9th. You can do your invitation through Nintendo if you want to go through them. You might be wondering, well, what are we getting with the console itself? I got that loaded up here. We are looking at a Nintendo Switch that supports 4K resolution, HDR. You have Joy-Cons with mouse controls. The console itself is going to have 256 gigabytes of storage. They have made the cartridges red and so much more. The console is a 7.9. When we talk console, I'm talking like the handheld format for this. We are looking at a 7.9 inch LCD screen. The screen itself is going to be 1080p. That's actually up from the 720p resolution that the original console had. And I believe the original console was also a 6.7 inch display. So bigger display, higher resolution display, and also support for 1080p. The other thing to note is that the new dock will be able to output video up to 4K resolution. So I don't know if there's power in the dock. I'm assuming there's some amount of power in the dock, or the console itself can just scale up to 4K resolution, and you'll be able to play games at 120 frames per second. The display itself actually supports 120 hertz on the display. The Joy-Cons are going to be magnetic. They have a snapping motion to them. They will support mouse control. The right Joy-Con has a C button on it. The C button allows for a new feature called Game Chat. We'll talk Game Chat in a moment. Red game cartridges, 256 gigabytes of internal storage. The console will also support something called the micro SD express cards. These are new high-end micro SD cards that support faster loading and transfers and all of that stuff. The console will also support spatial 3D sound. Now, Game Chat. If you have been playing video games for the last like 10 plus years, Nintendo's new feature Game Chat is going to do almost nothing for you, because it's very, very much on par with maybe a little bit of that Nintendo je ne sais quoi, a little bit of that Nintendo stank that goes with it. So let's kind of break it down. Game Chat is a new online feature from Nintendo. It'll let players play and talk with each other while playing Nintendo Switch 2 games. Once Game Chat is activated, players will be able to press the C button on the right Joy-Con to not only start chatting with friends, but also share their screen. Use video chat with Nintendo Switch 2 camera accessories or other compatible USB-C cameras. So basically, they are going to put a less hokey version of the chat features that they currently have into Nintendo Switch 2. Now, Game Chat will be free until March 2026 for all Nintendo Switch 2 players, but you will need the Nintendo Switch Online membership afterwards. And if you're going to play multiplayer games with your friends, you're going to need that Nintendo Switch Online membership anyways. One of the things that they showed off was something called Game Share. Game Share will let you temporarily play games with other people. So previously you could pass around a second Joy-Con controller with your friends and do all of that stuff to play locally. But now with the Nintendo Switch 2, you will be able to extend that to multiple consoles with just one copy of the game. Even games that require multiple screens can be played with if one person owns a compatible game. You can share a game with up to 3 other local systems at a time, including the original Nintendo Switch. Game Share also supports online play with other Switch 2 systems, although it's only compatible with a couple of games, those games being Captain Toad, Treasure Tracker, Super Mario 3D World, Super Mario Odyssey, Big Brain Academy, and Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics, which are getting a free update on Switch. Please note that, of course, Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive games can only be shared with Nintendo Switch 2 consoles. But basically, if you own a game and it's a multiplayer game and you're playing with other people, you can share that temporarily as part of everything. They showed off. We talked about the camera. The camera is a $50 US camera, and it is going to support game chat. There is no microphone. For everything I can tell, there's no microphone actually in this camera. The microphone is on the Switch itself. So the kind of the example that they gave was, oh, you're sitting on the couch, you have the camera plugged into the console, the camera is aiming at you, and the microphone is actually the microphone built into the console itself that is picking up your voice and stuff like that while playing. They tried to make an argument that it is going to be good at noise cancellation. They showed like, oh, it's like a people hanging out together in the same house, like roommates or whatever. And someone's like using a blender and everyone can still hear them properly. However, a couple of things to note is that, results are going to vary based on your, environment when it comes to the microphone. And when it comes to the camera looked pretty low resolution. It does not look like an amazing camera whatsoever. But if you wanted to voice chat and video chat while you played, you're going to need something like that, such as the Switch 2 camera. They also showed off the new Pro controller that is going to be $80 US. It looks a lot like the original one. However, it's going to come with an audio jack at the bottom. It's also going to include the C button for game chat, as well as 2 extra back buttons. Those extra back buttons will be customizable, so you can switch that stuff around if you want. They also showed off the Joy-Con 2, which is $90, the charging grip, which is $35, the strap, which is $13, the Joy-Con wheel, which is $20 for 2, the Switch 2 dock set, which is going to be $110 if you want an additional dock, Switch 2 carrying case and screen protector, which is $35, the all-in-one carrying case, which is $80, and a Nintendo Switch 2 AC adapter, which is $30. So that's kind of it when it comes to the console. When it comes to the accessories, we've already kind of covered game chat. We have covered pricing and availability. Now let's, as I scroll through here, let's take a moment to kind of cover the games. There are 2 brand new first-party Nintendo developed games that are coming exclusively to the Switch 2. Those 2 games are going to be Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza. Mario Kart World will be the launch title for Nintendo Switch 2. Again, exclusive to the Nintendo Switch. They covered a lot of that stuff. And that's coming out same day as Switch 2 on June 5th. They kind of covered a couple of things here. It'll be 24 players in a race. There will also be a free roaming mode as well. So you will be able to drive all across this kind of open world. The tracks are kind of integrated into the open world, which is from what it's kind of showing in the video. So you'll be able to learn the tracks and stuff in a casual way drive across the open world. You'll also be able to play with friends online if you want to as well. It also features something called Knockout Tour. Knockout Tour is an elimination style battle royale where you'll be driving across the open world. And basically, as you get across these checkpoints, they were like, hey, whoever is eighth or lower in placing right now, you will be knocked out of the race, and kind of so on and so forth. Kind of like a Cannonball Run-esque situation in a Mario Kart game. But as part of this battle royale, they showed off cars, motorcycles, boats, snowmobiles, and planes. There's even a moment in the game where there was a giant cow found in Moo Moo Meadows, who was also a race car driver in that game. Now, they only showed off so much of Mario Kart World, and that's because Nintendo is actually going to have a whole separate Nintendo Direct conference, or video, whatever they're calling them these days, for Mario Kart World. That's going to take place April 16th at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. April 17th, Mario Kart World Direct taking place if you want to know more about the game. But like I said, that is the only exclusive Nintendo Switch 2 game coming out at launch. There are other games coming out. We'll try to cover those as well. But if you are like, what is the game made just for Switch 2 that I can buy day one? That is Mario Kart World. They also showed off Donkey Kong Bonanza, which is coming out July 17th. This game looks awesome. This looks really, really cool. I was really impressed by what I saw. I also really like the redesign of Donkey Kong. Again, kind of going for more of a Super Mario Brothers movie style look to Donkey Kong. But basically, it is a new 3D platforming action adventure game that shows Donkey Kong just breaking a lot of shit. You can in the video they showed you kind of diving into the ground to break up parts of the environment underground. It showed you just breaking through shit, like punching through like mountains and rocks. It also showed you being able to pick up chunks of the environment and throw them. A very, very destructible focused game, focused around Donkey Kong. There were also 2D, classic 2D platforming sections of the game. That is also an exclusive Switch 2 game, but it is not coming out until July 17th. If you've not seen the video for Donkey Kong Bonanza, check it out because it looks fantastic. Kirby Air Raiders is a new racing game that's coming to Nintendo Switch 2, and that's actually being developed by Super Smash Bros. Director Masahiro Sakurai. That is called Kirby Air Raiders. This is the sequel to Kirby Air Ride, which originally came out on the GameCube in 2003. Now you might be wondering, okay, but what about backwards compatibility? They already said like there's a certain amount of backwards compatibility as part of this stuff. What does that actually mean? And we have a little bit of info surrounding that stuff, but we don't have a lot of answers. A couple of the games that they showed off as part of the backwards compatibility, as well as the Nintendo Switch 2 edition versions, are The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Those are getting what Nintendo is calling Nintendo Switch 2 edition versions of the game. So in this context, for those games anyways, both of those games are going to get smoother frame rates, faster loading times, and better graphics. They will also get something called the the Zelda Notes app, which will be part of the Nintendo Switch Online app. And that will allow you to keep track of the progress in your game. The examples that they gave is help players find shrines, Koroks, and other locations alongside commentary from Princess Zelda, which is not part of the original game. So if you want basically an additional guide and resources as part of playing the game, you can do that in something called Zelda Notes, which is part of the Nintendo Switch Online app. And that, when I say online app, I mean that's for your phone. You got an iPhone, whatever you got, that'll do the trick. But there's a couple things to note here. First thing to note is that you can buy Switch 2 editions of the game. You can also buy upgrade packs for the games. They did not note pricing for the upgrade packs. If you already own the game, you can buy an upgrade pack. They didn't say how much it would be. They didn't say how much the standalone version of those games would be. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, which was shown as part of the earlier Nintendo Direct that happened this week, is getting a Nintendo Switch 2 edition version. It is also getting mouse control support if you have the Switch 2. It is also going to come with quality and performance modes for the game. So if you get the Nintendo Switch 2 version of Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, you can play it in quality, which is 4K at 60 FPS on the dock, or you can do 1080p 120 frames per second if you would rather have the performance mode. When we talk about other Switch 2 kind of enhanced editions of games, we also have Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which is getting a new Star-Crossed World update. So Kirby and the Forgotten Land was already a Switch game. They're going to get, Kirby's getting the Switch 2 edition treatment. That game is going to have improved performance when it comes out on August 28th of 2025. It's also getting a new story called Star-Crossed World, which will include a new mouthful modes to utilize. So if you want to get a mouthful of that, you can do so with Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Super Mario Party Jamboree is getting an expanded version on Switch 2 with mouse controls. That is another Switch 2 update that you can get if you want to buy it, whether you have the update as part of the upgrade pack or you're buying the game separately. It's also going to include something called Jamboree TV that is coming out July 24th. Pokemon Legends ZA is getting a Nintendo Switch 2 edition, which will feature improved resolution and frame rate. They showed off something that from what they showed, barely looked like a video game. Like barely looked like a video game. I am talking about Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, which was revealed as an exclusive digital-only title for Nintendo Switch 2. It'll be a paid digital title. And they're kind of going for an Astrobot sort of thing here, where it's focused on gameplay experiences surrounding the physical possibilities of the Nintendo Switch 2 console itself and the Joy-Cons, kind of learning more about the console, but also demonstrating what the buttons do and all of this stuff. Looked weird, and the idea that it's a paid digital game is pretty laughable. Drag X Drive or Drag Cross Drive is an online 3 versus 3 multiplayer game where you play as characters in wheelchairs. This game looks really, really neat. Again, going for a 3-on-3 basketball, wheelchair basketball with a little bit of that, oh God, what the hell is that game called? Rocket League sort of thing going on as well. They showed off the new mouse controls. They showed off motion controls and the idea of like you using the two Joy-Cons as mice to kind of drag and push and move your wheelchair, and then, motion controls to shoot and all that stuff. That looked really neat. That's coming out to Switch 2 this summer. They confirmed that if you are looking to play Nintendo GameCube games, those are coming exclusively to Switch 2 via Nintendo Switch Online. So if you know, Nintendo Switch Online is their multiplayer subscription service and all of that stuff. You will be able to play The Legend of Zelda, Wind Waker, F-Zero GX, and Soul Calibur 2 when those come out. They also said, hey, we're going to make a new version of the GameCube controller that's compatible with Switch 2, and that'll be wireless. Okay, that pretty much covers everything non-Nintendo related. I'm just kind of skimming through here to kind of talk about, instead of covering every game here, like in every game in greater detail, I'm just going to give you a list of games. So here's what I have. The Switch 2 is going to have a bunch of third-party support A lot of older games and upcoming games are going to be planned for 2025 and beyond. So these are not launch games. These are not day one games or anything like that, but this is a list of growing Nintendo Switch 2 games that have been confirmed in some way, shape, or form. EA Sports Madden NFL, EA Sports Football, NBA 2K, WWE 2K, Split Fiction, Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition, that includes the base game and the DLC expansion, Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate, that is the part 1 of the Final Fantasy VII Remake along with the Integrate expansion, Street Fighter 6, Sid Meier's Civilization 7, Hogwarts Legacy, Bravely Default Flying Fairy HD Remaster, Borderlands 4, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4, Yakuza 0 Director's Cut, which is an interesting thing because they announced that English voice acting is coming to Yakuza 0 Director's Cut as part of that update, which seemed absolutely wild. If that is your thing, you should definitely check that out. Fortnite is coming to Nintendo Switch 2, Enter the Gungeon 2. They showed off some gameplay for Enter the Gungeon 2. That's coming to Switch 2. Hitman World of Assassination is coming to Nintendo Switch 2. Project 007. Project 007, if you don't know, is the unnamed James Bond 007 game that is being made by your friends and mine over at IO Interactive. So if you're curious what the Hitman people have been working on, it's putting out Hitman on Switch 2 and also working on this 007 game. Star Seeker Astroneer Expeditions, which is a follow-up to Astroneer. Daemon X Machina Titanic Scion, which I believe is a sequel to Daemon X Machina. Survival Kids Star Wars Outlaws is coming to Nintendo Switch 2. Silk Song, that is Hollow Knight, the sequel to Hollow Knight. Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess is coming to Nintendo Switch 2. And Re-Animal is also coming to Nintendo Switch 2. That is pretty much everything that was covered as part of the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct that just happened, like I said, earlier this morning. We also had a Nintendo Direct that covered a lot of games that are going to be available on Nintendo Switch. So, and this actually happened earlier on the 27th. So, the reason why they did this is because of the way the backwards compatibility works. You can play all those games, or most of those games, pretty much all of those games, on Nintendo Switch 2. But like I said, there will be some games that you can get with the Switch 2 upgrade pack, such as games like, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, which is coming out on Switch 1 and Switch 2. And if you buy the Switch 1 version, you can get the Switch 2 version. Though I believe if you buy the Switch 2 version, it's going to come with the Switch 1 version. I'm not too certain, but they're kind of mixing stuff up depending on what your needs are. But like I said, Nintendo had a Direct on March 27th, centering on a lot of games for the original Switch, such as Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD Remake, No Sleep for Kaname, date from AI, the Somnium Files, Radu Remastered, The Mystery of the Soulless Army. They showed off Shadow Labyrinth. That was the creepy Pac-Man themed Metroidvania that was based on that secret level episode. Patapon 1+2 are getting a remaster. That's coming to Nintendo Switch. It's also coming to other consoles. That was originally a Sony game. They showed off Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar. They showed off Metroid Prime 4. This game, Metroid Prime 4, looks awesome. I was actually really impressed. I've never been a Metroid Prime guy, but the idea of first-person shooting Metroid seemed pretty neat for what it's worth. Disney Villains Curse Cafe. You are running a cafe where a bunch of dirtbags from Disney show up. And I'm not talking about the CEO and leadership team over at Disney. Witchbrook, which is the new spell crafting witch life sim from Chucklefish, was shown as part of the Nintendo Switch Direct. The Internal Life of Goldman is a new action-adventure game that's coming out this holiday. Gradius Origins, celebrating the 40th anniversary of Gradius. Rift of the Necrodancer is getting a Celeste DLC. They showed off Tamagotchi Plaza, which is a new entry in the Tamagotchi Connection series. This will let you and your pals engage in different activities around different shops through cute minigames. That's coming out June 27th. They also showed off some more gameplay for Pokemon Legends ZA and its wild area set outside Lumos City. New Pokemon won't just appear in grassy areas, but around rooftops and other parts of the city too. They also showed off ZA Royale, a tournament held in the city where trainers will battle for a wish granted. They're making a new Rhythm Heaven game. This is fantastic. This is very, very exciting. New Rhythm Heaven game, as you can see here on the screen, called Rhythm Heaven Groove, which will feature quirky challenges, fun rhythmic activities, and it has an excellent art style. And that's coming out sometime in 2026. All right. This is a whole other crazy thing outside of Switch 2 and all of this stuff called virtual cards. And Nintendo is basically trying to come up with a way for you to share games with your friends and family as part of your Nintendo account family group. So it's kind of turning your digital versions of games into physical cards that you lend out. Hear me out. Let me load this up here. Okay. This is from IGN. Virtual cards allow players to link two of their Switch consoles together and transfer their games between them. If you buy Super Mario Odyssey digitally on your original Switch, for example, it sounds like you'll be able to bring it over to another Switch family device after the consoles are paired together. So easily share games as part of this. You're lending out the games. The freedom to choose one game. One of up to 8 family members will be able to borrow the games for up to 2 weeks. A single game can be shared with one member at a time, and you will not be able to play that game while it is being lent out, which is cool. It's a cool idea. If maybe slightly convoluted, but it's neat. It's cool. I don't know. I think it's all right. They're making a new Everybody's Golf. Hot Shots Golf. It's weird. Okay, this is a weird really weird name for it. The new Everybody's Golf game is called Everybody Golf Hot Shots. That's going to be coming out sometime this year. I imagine that it'll also be coming to other console platforms if you want. Marvel's Cosmic Invasion is made up by the team who made Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, and it is a throwback arcade style brawler. It looks really neat. This actually was doing something for me. I might need to check that out when it comes out sometime this holiday season. They showed off Tomodachi Life Living the Dream. The first entry in over 10 years sees various Tomodachi living life out at sea, getting married, dancing, fighting, smelling the flowers, and generally hanging out. And that's coming out in 2026. They also showed off Nintendo Today, which is a new Nintendo app for iPhones and smartphones and stuff like that, that will allow you to receive news directly from Nintendo. I have it on my phone right now. I've not spent a lot of time looking at it, but I have it here on my phone. And what does it say? It says you can look at the, it says, it shows a picture of Bowser. I don't know if you can see Bowser and Bowser Jr. It tells me today's date, which is April 2nd. And it says, hey man, Nintendo Switch 2. And all of this stuff. And I don't know. There's a calendar? I don't understand. that seems neat, but I don't know how much I'll actually get out of it. That pretty much covers the other Nintendo Direct that happened earlier this week. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we got to talk about what's going on at Ubisoft. Stick around. We'll be right back. Hello, welcome back to the podcast. I continue to be GnittWitt, and we are going to talk more news, this time talking about Ubisoft. One of the things I said last week when we talked about Assassin's Creed Shadows is that game was not going to save Ubisoft. That was never going to be a game that saved Ubisoft from itself or course corrected in any way, shape, or form. This is always that was not going to happen with this game, and that continues to not be the case when it comes to where Ubisoft is at right now. So what I have here is a news story from Video Games Chronicles. As always, shout out to Video Games Chronicles, and it is saying that Ubisoft and Tencent have unveiled a new subsidiary for 3 of Ubisoft's core franchises, that being Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Rainbow Six. So essentially, there's a whole separate entity that now is controlling those 3 core franchises from Ubisoft. Don't ask me what's going on with The Crew. Don't ask me what's going on with Prince of Persia. I don't know. Don't ask me what's going on with Skull and Bones or Ghost Recon or Splinter Cell. They didn't say Tom Clancy, which are where Ghost Recon and Splinter Cell also come from. They're specifically talking about Rainbow Six. Tencent will own a minority stake in the new subsidiary, which is currently focusing on 3 of those IPs. So, the new subsidiary will be based on the Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Tom Clancy Rainbow Six brands, and will be backed by greater investment and boosted creative capabilities in an attempt to push each series forward. The subsidiary has been valued at around 4 billion euros. I don't even know what that icon is. I'm going to Google what that icon is. That's the euro. Yeah, there you go. See, 4 billion euros, with Tencent investing around 1.16 billion euros to gain a minority stake at around 25%. Now, we don't really know what that means as far as this series at this stage. So we don't actually know what happens with Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Rainbow Six going forward. But those are the 3 games in that group. Ubisoft says the new subsidiary backed by Tencent's investment will drive further increases in the quality of narrative solo experiences, expand multiplayer offerings with increased frequency of content releases, and introduce free-to-play touchpoints and integrate more social features. They said the new subsidiary would include the teams developing the Tom Clancy Rainbow Six games, Assassin's Creed, and Far Cry franchises, and those are going to be based in Montreal, Quebec, Sherbrooke, Saguenay, I believe that's how you pronounce it, Barcelona, probably not how you pronounce it, Barcelona, and Sofia, as well as the back catalog and many new games currently under development or to be developed. So, past and present and future, this is what that subsidiary controls. All of Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, all of Assassin's Creed, and all of Far Cry. Everyone's favorite CEO, Yves Guillemot, said, "Today, Ubisoft is opening a new chapter in its history. As we accelerate the company's transformation, this is a foundational step in changing Ubisoft's operating model that will enable us to be both agile and ambitious. We are focused on building strong game ecosystems designed to become evergreen, growing high-performance brands, and creating new IPs powered by cutting-edge and emerging technologies." Now I'm going to say this up at the top. When I think new intellectual properties, I think about the same old intellectual properties that Ubisoft has been working on for decades. When I think brand new, hot titles and hot this and that and just fresh ideas, when I think fresh ideas, I think Subway, eat fresh, and I think the 20th Assassin's Creed game. So I don't even know what they're talking about when it comes to oh yeah, we got all these hot new ideas. It's like, dog, where have those ideas been for the last 15 years? Do you know where they are? Do they come with a check brought to you by Tencent? Because if so, Tencent's been giving you money for a long time anyways. They go on to say, with the creation of a dedicated subsidiary that will spearhead development for 3 of our largest franchises and the onboarding of Tencent as a minority investor, we are crystallizing the value of our assets, strengthening our balance sheet, and creating the best conditions for these franchises' long-term growth and success. With its dedicated and autonomous leadership team, it will focus on transforming these 3 brands into unique ecosystems. Alongside the creation of the new subsidiary, Ubisoft says it will continue working on other IP outside of the 3 that have moved over. They said, in parallel to the creation of this new entity, Ubisoft will focus on nurturing the development of iconic franchises, including Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon and The Division, accelerating the growth of top-performing titles, and leveraging disruptive technologies on selected new IPs while continuing to deliver state-of-the-art production, game engines, and online services. Oh, I got a headache reading that. What are they talking about? So here's what I think. I'm not a businessman. I'm not a financial lawyer. I don't know shit about shit. But when I see this is what I think. What I think is that Ubisoft wanted to make sure that if they had to do a fire sale of any of their properties, they were protecting Rainbow Six, Assassin's Creed, and Far Cry. If they had to sell off any, if they had to sell off Rayman, or if they had to sell off this or that, or that they wouldn't have to sell off those core franchises, right? If someone wants to come around and offer them for, the Skull and Bones games and say, hey, we'll buy the Skull and Bones franchise off you, that Tencent wouldn't and Ubisoft wouldn't be tied up in protecting that to the same degree as Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Rainbow Six. That's what I think first and foremost. But I also think that as of right now, the Tom Clancy Ghost Recon franchise is deader than Elvis. I don't see a world where that game comes back anytime soon. The last game was Breakpoint, a game that did not set the world on fire. And Ghost Recon Wildlands, as much as it has a place in my heart, is a stupid game. It's a dumb video game. The Tom Clancy has never looked dumber than it does in Ghost Recon Wildlands. I love The Division. I love The Division 2. Division 2, probably one of my favorite Ubisoft games in some time. But The Division 2 has not necessarily grown as a live service game. They canceled those spin-off The Division games, and The Division 3 is nowhere to be seen. So, nurturing the development of what? When it comes to Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon and The Division, what are they nurturing? Because I don't see it happening. And if those are the games that they pay lip service to that are not part of the Core 3, and it's not like the Core 3 is doing amazing. I mean, Assassin's Creed Shadows might be back, back on track courtesy of Shadows. Far Cry has not set the world on fire in a very, very long time. And the only game that is actually hot from that and has stayed hot for the last 10 or so years. Well, I shouldn't say that. Valhalla did quite well. Odyssey and Origins did well. The hottest game of that Core 3 group has without a doubt been Rainbow Six Siege. We forget that Rainbow Six Extraction happened, and I'll forgive you for it. But, to pay lip service to Ghost Recon and The Division does not fill me with a lot of hope for those franchises. And then everything else that wasn't even mentioned, you can forget about it. The Crew, fuck the Crew. The Crew's done. The Crew has crashed and burned, and will probably never get back on track as far as I'm concerned. Prince of Persia, they tried the Lost Crown. They tried to give people what they wanted, a new, good Prince of Persia game. That failed. Fuck it. It's done. Splinter Cell, haven't seen Sam Fisher in a while, so he probably isn't coming back anytime soon. Like Rayman, they tell me that everybody loves Rayman. I don't see that game coming back either. So if you wanted less games from Ubisoft than ever before, but more of the same old that Ubisoft has been making for a while, I have good news for you. Tencent agrees with you, and Tencent is going to help make Ubisoft, protect the shitty leadership up at the very top that has enabled the abuse and mismanagement of the company for years and years and years to go on and make more of the shit that you already know that Ubisoft is capable of putting out every year or so, right? Like this is it. This is the shrinking of Ubisoft to the very core of what it knows it can do and still have people buy it regardless of how good it is. That's Assassin's Creed, that's Far Cry, and that's Rainbow Six. Way to go. Things have only gotten worse as far as I'm concerned from the outside looking in at the current situation at Ubisoft. And you know that this means that we're going to get mass layoffs on top of everything else, right? You know that Tencent and Ubisoft are sitting around being like, well, Ubisoft Montreal and Quebec can both make Assassin's Creed games, but do we really need two of those, teams to make Assassin's Creed games when all we're going to do is make Assassin's Creed games going forward? No, we're probably going to be, it won't be long before I'm going to be reporting on, mass layoffs over at Montreal or Quebec or Sherbrooke or Barcelona or any of these places. That's going to happen. I don't want it to happen, but that's definitely what's going to happen as part of all of this, right? Oh, we're going to build a strong ecosystem by gutting it from the fucking bottom up when Ubisoft should have been gutted from the top down a long, long time ago with their god-awful leadership. Let's continue. They talked about Hogwarts Legacy. Hogwarts Legacy going to be a Nintendo Switch 2 thing. But you might have heard that they were going to make a Hogwarts Legacy expansion pack as part of the director's cut version of the game. That has been canceled. The original developer was Avalanche. They were working with Rocksteady on a director's cut version, which included the expansion. That has now been scrapped as part of the Warner Brothers Games overhaul. That's according to Bloomberg, where Warner said they decided to cancel the project due to concerns that the amount of content it had planned would not justify the price being considered. How often do you hear of a big company like Warner Brothers deciding that they can't even nickel and dime you to death if they wanted to? It's really impressive. The complete failure of post-launch support for Hogwarts Legacy has just blown my mind. This game sold more than 34 million copies. It is one of the best-selling video games ever. And still, they could not sell you any additional DLC or expansions because that is how fucking broken Warner Brothers Games, their gaming division, is. Now, there is a sequel on the way. It is said to be one of the biggest priorities for Warner Brothers Discovery. That is on top of having canceled the Wonder Woman game and focusing on Harry Potter, Mortal Kombat, and DC as the big gaming properties for Warner Brothers Games at the moment. But it still blows my mind. Like, I don't even love Hogwarts Legacy. I don't love Hogwarts Legacy. I think Hogwarts Legacy is all right. It's okay. But man, the fact that they couldn't fucking sell you any ounce of DLC is pretty impressive. Let's talk Final Fantasy IX. Final Fantasy IX is celebrating its 25th anniversary this year, and Square Enix is ready to party like it's 2000. Final Fantasy IX originally came out in 2000 for the PlayStation 1. It holds a special place in my heart. I really, really like Final Fantasy IX. The game was eventually re-released in 2010 on PS1. As part of the PS1 classics for PS3 and PSP and PS Vita in 2012. In 2021, a Final Fantasy IX remake was one of the many unannounced titles as part of the NVIDIA GeForce Now database leak. there has been no announcement of a Final Fantasy IX remake. Multiple sources have claimed that one is in development. Square Enix Naoki Yoshida suggested last year that a remake of the game in the style of the current ongoing Final Fantasy VII remake trilogy would be too big for one game. Because Naoki Yoshida kind of says, like, of course, I do know there are requests for Final Fantasy IX to be made, but when you think about 9, it's a game with huge volume. When you think about all of that volume, I wonder if it's possible to remake it as a single title. It's a difficult one. It's a tough question. However, last month it was claimed that multiple Final Fantasy remakes are currently in active development, including Final Fantasy IX. So I don't know if we're going to get a remake, a remaster, or re-release something, but something is coming out for Final Fantasy IX. Might come out by the end of this year. We're not too sure. There is controversy surrounding Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4, specifically around the changes to the soundtrack. We've talked about it before. One of the key things that makes Tony Hawk's Pro Skater so good is that soundtrack. Something that, has persisted for years and years. Obviously, the more nostalgia you have for a particular Tony Hawk game, the more likely you are to feel a certain way about the soundtrack. Makes sense. With Tony Hawk 3+4, you might have been thinking, oh, I can't wait to hear all of my favorite songs from Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 in one game. That's not happening. That's not happening. The Hawkman himself says that it was my choice to make changes to the soundtrack. They have kind of been doing this in waves. They've been announcing the soundtrack in waves. And there have been absences. There's some absences from the original games. There's no Iron Maiden. There's no Alien Ant Farm. But Tony Hawk says that there's more to it than just an absence of those games. That's what he says anyways. Commenting on Instagram, Tony Hawk claimed that he personally decided to introduce a mix of new and classic tracks for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4, stating that he hoped players would enjoy discovering new music as with the original games. He says, it was my choice to pick some different songs by the same artist featured in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4. I'm hoping that discovery is half the fun and a big reason that these soundtracks resonated in the first place. So listen and enjoy the ride. More to come, both old and new. We also talked about Bam Margera probably coming to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. They've done waves of the soundtrack. There is Iron Maiden, but it is not, I believe it's not the original Iron Maiden song that was in like the original soundtracks. New artists include 100 Gex and Kenny Hoopla. Vince Staples are also part of this. So the thing for me is that they already did this. Like, and maybe these people have just an incredibly small, short attention span, but they literally already did this with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2 Remastered. There was a fucking Machine Gun Kelly song on the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2 Remastered soundtrack. So I don't know where these people have been all this time that are like, oh, I can't believe they're putting the Kenny Hoopla and the whatever. Like, they've done this before, right? I think that Tony Hawk came up with a half decent reason for the changes. But if you ask me, I think the real reason why you're not seeing all of these songs is because of licensing, right? If I've learned anything from my time watching All Elite Wrestling, it's that licensing music is incredibly expensive. You know, think about Bryan Danielson and The Final Countdown and how much money they must have goddamn spent for that one song, or how much money Tony Khan must have put in the pocket of Axl Rose to get November Rain, or whatever, right? You know, I'm just happy my man Action Bronson gets a check every time Hook comes to the ring. But the point is that like that shit is expensive. Those deals that they signed years ago were not in perpetuity. So if they wanted to put an Alien Ant Farm song in the new game, despite the fact that it was in the old game, they're going to have to cut a check to a lot of people involved. And I don't know if they want to bother to do that if it's cheaper to get somebody like Kenny Hoopla or whoever. I'm not picking on Kenny Hoopla. I think Hollywood Sucks is an okay song. But that's kind of what I'm thinking, is there might be more to it than just, I want discovery. Now, that being said, licensed soundtrack in games, especially when it comes to like, pop punk and alternative rock and rap music and stuff like that, that is actually one of my personal favorite ways of discovering new music. I think about my time playing Forza Horizon 5 and so many great songs on the Forza Horizon 5 soundtrack that I didn't know about, that I didn't, I wasn't listening to a lot of electronic music or dance music or whatever. I wasn't listening to a lot of the stuff that's on the Forza Horizon soundtrack. In fairness, there's more than just that sort of EDM stuff on Forza Horizon. There's pop and rap and punk and all that stuff. But like when I listen to games that have licensed soundtracks, a lot of times I come across being like at least a handful of tracks being like, wow, I really like this. I got to throw this on Apple Music. I got to listen to this stuff. They put me onto this band. So I kind of get what Tony Hawk's saying in terms of, discovery when it comes to songs that are on the game. I hope the soundtrack's good. I would love to, be proven wrong in terms of just a great remix of tracks, both old and new. But I kind of get where Tony Hawk's coming from, but I have a suspicion that there's more to it than just discovery. That's what I think anyways. We got some layoffs. I'm always saying lay off the layoffs, but that never seems to quite happen. Tomb Raider studio Crystal Dynamics has confirmed several layoffs. The studio is currently working on the next installment in the Tomb Raider franchise, but has confirmed that 17 employees have been affected by layoffs. Now, stop you if you've heard this one before, but the good folks over at Crystal Dynamics say, we did not make this decision lightly. Ultimately, this step was necessary to better align our current business needs and the studio's future success. It is not a reflection of the dedication or ability of those affected. We recognize how painful this outcome is for those impacted, and we are supporting them with transition packages and opportunity outreach. Crystal Dynamics remains committed to pushing the boundaries of making great games. This change does not alter our current project plans. Now, it was announced back in December 2022 that Amazon would be publishing the next Tomb Raider game, which is being developed by its modern creator, Crystal Dynamics. Now, Crystal Dynamics was one of numerous studios hit with layoffs in 2023 as part of the Embracer Group clusterfuck. A live-action Tomb Raider series is in the works alongside the game and reportedly star a Game of Thrones veteran, Sophie Turner, who played Sansa Stark in the HBO drama. I don't know who Sansa Stark is, and I've never seen Game of Thrones. Actually, I saw a little bit of House of the Dragon, and my thought was, oh, it's Succession, but with dragons. Anyways, it was announced back in May of 2024 that Amazon Prime Video had placed a series order for a live-action Tomb Raider adaptation. The Phoebe Waller-Bridge, the lady who made Fleabag, serving as writer, executive producer on the show. Crystal Dynamics, I believe, are also helping to work on... they got a lot of irons in the fire, actually, I believe. Crystal Dynamics, because they are also working on Perfect Dark. They worked on Perfect Dark for Xbox Game Studios. They are also working on... They also did some work for the Tomb Raider 1 and 3 remaster, the Tomb Raider 4 and 6 remaster. They also helped work on the Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver 1 and 2 remaster. But the last full game that Crystal Dynamics made was Marvel's Avengers, which was previously they also did work on Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and the Tomb Raider reboot. Those Tomb Raider reboot trilogy, that's a thumbs up from old GnittWitt. Those games are good. I'm cool with that. As always, best of luck to all those involved, and I hope everybody who has been let go lands on their feet. Leslie Benzies, The Benz, has been working on a new game called Mind's Eye. Leslie Benzie is a former producer for the Grand Theft Auto series. He has been working on a new game over at Build a Rocket Boy. That game is called Mind's Eye. It got a new trailer, and they've also confirmed the release date for that game, coming out June 10th on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Pre-orders are available now. It is being described as a story-driven action-adventure thriller set in a fictional near-future Americana, featuring best-in-class cinematics, high-octane driving, and explosive combat. It looks like... How could I describe this game? It looks like Grand Theft Auto, but not open world in a future... I don't know. They've never actually come out and said it's open world, so I'm guessing it's not, but it's going to feature driving and shooting, and it looks a lot like Grand Theft. If Grand Theft Auto and Cyberpunk 2077 had a baby, it would be Mind's Eye, and if that does anything for you, good news, that's coming out June 10th. Take-Two, speaking of Grand Theft Auto, Take-Two's CEO has explained why we still don't have a release date for Grand Theft Auto 6, that we haven't received a lot of information about Grand Theft Auto 6. If you're wondering what's going on, Strauss Zelnick has an answer. He says, first and foremost, it's on track for a release this fall. So if you're wondering, when's GTA 6 coming out, it's this fall. However, he says the anticipation for that title may be the greatest anticipation I've ever seen for an entertainment property. And I've been around the block a few times, and I've been in every entertainment business there is. And we want to maintain that anticipation and excitement. We do have competitors who will describe their release schedule for years in advance, and we found that the better thing to do is provide marketing materials relatively close to the release window in order to create that excitement on the one hand, and balance the excitement with unmet anticipation. We don't always get it exactly right, but that's what we are trying to do. And I gotta be honest, I think this is the way to do it. I think with the way people's attention span works these days, even for something on the scale of a Grand Theft Auto, I think this is the way to do it. I think if it's 2 months, if it's 3 months, I don't know what the magical number is, but I think you have the trailer and the details and the release date very, very close to when the game actually comes out. I think this is the way to do it. And I think we're going to find that this is going to work out quite well, because everybody is going to take off time to play Grand Theft Auto 6. They're going to submit their work day, their days off, their sick days, whatever they got going on once the date is released. But I think it's all going to happen very tightly. And I think you're going to find that that's going to work out quite well in terms of building anticipation for Grand Theft Auto 6. We had a couple of news stories. We're gonna quickly go through them right now. Actually, just one left. Excuse me. Monster Hunter Wilds. If you're wondering how much is Capcom cooking, Monster Hunter Wilds has now sold 10 million copies, setting a new record for Capcom. It is now the 6th best-selling Capcom game ever, all-time numero uno. Monster Hunter World is currently Capcom's best-selling game ever at around 22 million units. That's 22 million units. But Monster Hunter Wilds is well on its way to matching it. The announcement means that Monster Hunter Wilds is now the 6th best-selling Capcom game ever, setting just behind Resident Evil Village. There's also a free update coming to Monster Hunter Wilds on April 3rd, if that is your thing. All right. That's going to do it for news. We'll put the kibosh on news. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back. This will be our last break. And we're going to talk some games that I've been playing We'll wrap this thing up. Stick around. Welcome back to the podcast. I continue to be GnittWitt. This is it was the last break. We're gonna keep on going till we can't go anymore. I was thinking a little bit more about the Nintendo Switch 2 and kind of my thoughts and my reaction to a lot of the information presented. On one hand, I'm interested to see what updates and what that experience is like, as I don't own a Switch anymore, but I do have my games for backwards compatibility purposes and all that stuff. I would be curious to see what experiencing Breath of the Wild is like on a Switch 2, both without the update and with the update, if I paid for the upgrade pack and all of that stuff. I'm very curious to see how that is. I think, like I said, I think Donkey Kong Bonanza looks awesome, with the destruction and all that stuff. That looks really neat. I think Mario Kart World looks cool. I just wish I was more of a Mario Kart guy. Like, I didn't even get that much out of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I didn't get the expansion for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but, I played a little bit of it. I thought it was okay. I have no interest in playing third-party games on a Switch 2. Like, there's no part of me that's like, yes, WWE 2K on a Switch. That's where I want to play it, even on a Switch 2. Like, I don't want to play Cyberpunk on a Switch. Like, I'm here for Nintendo's games, both old and new, as it turns out. When it comes to that stuff, I think to me the real, honestly, and it's not even necessarily Nintendo's fault, but like the pricing is where it all falls apart for me. The pricing is where it all falls apart for me, to be honest. And I think a lot of that's going to have to do with the Canadian dollar, right? Like, I was down to pay like, $550, maybe $500-ish. I know my estimates on the pricing was all fucked up, and that's fine. Like, I guessed the price wrong. That's fine. I was willing to pay some money, but man, oh man, it's $650 for the base model is a little rich for my blood. I gotta be honest, and that's $644 Canadian. $499 US, $715 Canadian for the Switch plus the game. Also a little rich for my blood. So if I'm being honest, this is not something Nintendo can control. Obviously, Nintendo wants to make a profit, capitalism, all that stuff. I'm not here to argue about that. However, I will say that, like, the current state of economics, especially living in Canada with the tariffs that we have going on, with I'm choosing my words very carefully here, with all the shit that currently Canada is eating, courtesy of our neighbors to the south, it has really taken the wind out of my sails in terms of overall being excited for the Nintendo Switch 2. Like, okay, let's say I go buy the Switch 2 with the Mario Kart because I want a game, right? And it's cheaper to buy the console and the game bundled versus going and buying the game separately from the console. So let's say I'm in minimum $715 Canadian before tax for the and that's a direct comparison as of right now. Direct conversion as of right now. So I'm already in for $715 Canadian, right? Before tax. With tax, I'm $800 in for a Switch 2. With tax, I'm $800 in Canadian for a Switch 2. Well, I'm probably going to want to buy the controller. The controller is probably another $100 before tax. That doesn't even leave me with enough room to buy 2 games and a controller at launch for less than 1,000 fucking Canadian dollars. So, listen, I'm not here to criticize Nintendo's pricing. We have talked about video games getting more and more expensive over time, right? You know, the current cost of a new game and all of that stuff, right? Like that is an ongoing long running issue, right? If we go and look at the current price of a game on Steam, we'll look at Steam for a moment. Top sellers. Assassin's Creed Shadows is $90 on Steam before tax, right? $90 on Steam before tax. Who knows what Switch games are going to cost? Like, I have no idea at this point. I can't even imagine. And to be honest, by the time it comes out, I can't imagine what the Canadian dollar is going to be by the time all this shit comes out. So when I look at like kind of ways to save money and be a content creator, and this is separate from you and me playing video games, but like, I really feel like now more than ever, you got to ball on a budget when it comes to gaming. And I don't even think that, and listen, I could save up some money. I could do this. I could do that. A lot of things could change between now and June 5th when the console comes out. Maybe I'll be there like the $1 Million Man being like, I'm so rich and you're not, or whatever. Or I could buy it and just go into debt, or I could do a lot of things, right? But I feel like now more than ever, you really got to ball in a budget when it comes to gaming, right? So that's why I recommend folks like do stuff like have a PlayStation Plus subscription, even if it's the entry level, subscription. You get your free monthly games, and hopefully you get enough free monthly games that it makes up for the price you paid for it, right? This is why I recommend things like PlayStation Plus and Game Pass. This is why I decided not to buy Assassin's Creed Shadows, but instead get it as part of the Ubisoft subscription service in the hopes that I can play it and beat it within the month that I have the subscription. So I only ended up paying like $20-$25 for it, right? Obviously it's a game I don't own, but how likely am I to go back and replay Assassin's Creed Shadows anyways? So really when it comes to just the current state of economics in the world and pricing and the Canadian dollar, that is the thing that has taken the wind out of my sails the most in terms of being excited for the Nintendo Switch 2 based on what they've shown me so far today. The other thing I would say is having one brand new Switch exclusive game at launch is not particularly exciting either, especially with that game being a Mario Kart game. Again, Mario Kart World looks cool, more players, open world, all of this stuff, new modes, better graphics. It looks cool, don't get me wrong. But if it was something like Donkey Kong Bonanza as a launch title, I think that would be a lot more exciting. I know Donkey Kong Bonanza is only like a month away from launch anyways, but this is what they had to show. And I'm not saying it's necessarily bad. I'm just saying, like, for me personally, like, they spent a lot of time talking about game chat. I am never going to buy a camera for the Nintendo Switch 2. I'm never going to talk to a single human being ever on a Nintendo Switch 2. I'm never going to play like online multiplayer in that way. So I'm just left with a slightly underwhelming feel just in terms of the bigger picture. I think the core of the console, bigger screen, more storage, mouse control options, better Joy-Cons, higher resolution, all that stuff like that looks awesome. And some of the games look really cool. And I would be excited to play older games on a Nintendo Switch 2. But I think like just big picture wise, in terms of like just me as a consumer, as a taxpayer, as this and that, like I'm just not really confident in spending a lot of money on that stuff right now. And I feel like I'm pretty disappointed in just the nature of things. And unfortunately, something like the Nintendo Switch 2, which on paper sounds really cool, is unfortunately kind of caught up in that crossfire to some extent. Anyways, let's talk about games that I've been playing. The new game that I was playing is a game called Atomfall from your friends and mine at Rebellion. Atomfall is a first-person survival action, game, and I don't think it's very good. There's footage up on my YouTube if you want to watch me play some Atomfall, but man, oh man, I just I did not care for Atomfall. I find it to be a very slow, very clunky, very tedious, very bland survival, crafting, stealth, action, post-apocalyptic game that really just reminded me that I'm better off playing something like Metro Exodus or Stalker 2, or it's a very different thing, but firing up, going back to something like Fallout 4 or 76 or whatever. Like, it just, man, as much as I think Rebellion is really cool, Atomfall just did nothing for me. I think it's got an okay art style. I think it's got a decent premise. It's, this and that. Basically, it's alternate history. Like, there's an atomic like kind of catastrophe that actually really happened in Britain. And this is basically saying, what if it was much worse than it actually was, and the apocalypse comes and all this stuff. But I'll put it to you this way. Like, it's a game very much about like stealth and avoiding conflict. And when you get into conflict, the options are not very fun because it's a game where you probably shouldn't be fighting in the first place. So one of the things that you can do is use melee weapons. I had a cricket bat at one point during the game, and the cricket bat is so slow to move and hit people with, and the timing between you hitting the button and your character actually winding up the attack animation is so painfully slow that I just found Atomfall to be a bit of a slog, if I'm being honest. I really did not care for it. I recognize that those types of games, especially when they lean into a more crafting and survival and a more hardcore, style of gameplay, is not necessarily going to do it for me. But I was disappointed in just how rough I found Atomfall around the edges, and even at the core of what it was trying to go for. Really, really not for me. So this will be the last time I talk about Atomfall. But if you want to check out some gameplay, it is up now on my YouTube channel. Speaking of gameplay that is up on my YouTube channel, Assassin's Creed Shadows. Played some Assassin's Creed Shadows on Friday, last Friday, and I am still very much enjoying that game. I finally unlocked Yasuke after playing it for some time. I kind of decided I was going to beeline through some story missions and just really get to the heart of the story in that game to unlock Yasuke. The more I play of the story, the more I'm not convinced that I think that story is particularly amazing. The more I think that the voice acting is not so hot, that the writing and dialogue is not great. But I think at the core, Yasuke and Naoe are very cool characters. So I enjoy being those characters and just doing the shit that those characters do. I'm about 17 hours into the game now, as of the time of this recording. And the thing I would probably say is that now that I've unlocked Yasuke, he can do a lot of the things that Naoe can, but he can do things that Naoe can't, and Naoe can do some things that he can't. And I don't love this idea of playing an Assassin's Creed game where I have to split the difference between the two characters. But if you prefer to be more of a hulking, ass-kicking samurai, then Yasuke's for you. If you prefer to be more of a ninja, a more nimble, silent assassin type character, then Naoe is going to be for you. But I think having played a little bit more of Yasuke, like, he's slow and he's a little bit bumbling and he can't climb as fast and he can't, run and jump and dodge and do things that Naoe can, but he can cut the heads off of guys real good. He can kick somebody with a boot that just launches them into the fucking stratosphere in terms of just kicking dudes like some, like, this is Sparta ass kicking dudes type thing. In terms of things that he can do that Naoe can't, he can actually run through some doors and walls and stuff like that. He's like, Yasuke is like basically the fucking Kool-Aid man in Assassin's Creed Shadows, and that is definitely fun to just literally bulldoze through shit with your body. One of the things that Naoe can do that Yasuke can't is there are like tight ropes and things like that connected across rooftops. Naoe can run across that stuff. Yasuke can't. So just as examples of the things the other two characters can do. I still think that at the core of how I want to play Assassin's Creed, Naoe is more my type of style in terms of being able to be sneaky when I need to, and then just taking out the guys when I need to, with maybe some amount of difficulty, because Naoe is not nearly as strong in terms of taking damage, but still you can definitely make it happen with Naoe if you want to. Again, story-wise, nothing necessarily to write home about, but something that I'm continuing to go through. And that's kind of it. I mean, like I said, I'm really, really enjoying my time with Assassin's Creed Shadows. That's going to be the main game for me for some time. unless something comes out that I've totally forgotten about, or surprise, Game Pass game or something like that. No more gameplay videos for me in terms of Assassin's Creed Shadows with the after next week. After this week. So this week I'm going to play some Yasuke, and we'll put that up on YouTube if you want to check out some exclusive Yasuke gameplay. We'll make that happen. And then Friday, I'm hoping to stream a little bit of Dragon Age Inquisition. I wanted to make a playthrough of Dragon Age Inquisition. I'm not quite committing to that yet. I played a little bit of Dragon Age Inquisition. I'm very, very early in the game, so we're going to load up from that save, and we're going to stream some Dragon Age Inquisition on Friday, and we'll have some gameplay of Assassin's Creed Shadows up on Thursday. Maybe do a live stream of that. Maybe not. It's hard to say, but there'll be some gameplay of Assassin's Creed Shadows right then and there. Actually, hold on. Looking at my schedule, looking at things. Sorry, cancel that. No Assassin's Creed. Sorry, no, cancel that. Just because I got some stuff going on. No Assassin's Creed Shadows gameplay, but we will have Dragon Age Inquisition live Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. No Assassin's Creed Shadows. That makes more sense because I got some stuff going on. That is going to do it for Glitch Report. Make sure to check out my YouTube channel. Tons of short form videos talking about video game cookbooks and the concept of if video games are dying, and more stuff about Atomfall and Assassin's Creed Shadows and all that stuff up on my YouTube. So please, please, please go on over to my YouTube channel at GnittWitt on YouTube. Check out all of that stuff if you haven't done so already. I have been GnittWitt. This has been the Glitch Report podcast. Linktree.com/GnittWitt. Links to all the things, all of the places. Check that out. Nintendo Switch 2, it's a real thing, and it's coming out very, very soon. But until then, I'll be playing a lot of Assassin's Creed Shadows. That's going to do it for Glitch Report. Take it easy.